Give us a bit of background about the home. Who started it and for what reasons?
Okay. The home is a facility of Joburg Child Welfare and was opened in 1930 under what was then called the Child Aid Society. So we get our name, our slightly unusual name, from Princess Alice, who was one of Queen Victoria's, the Queen of England's great-grandchildren.
Oh.
She was here in South Africa and very active with childcare and children's needs during the 1920s. And she headed up the committee that raised the money to open this home. And she did open it before she left. So that's how we got our name. The need, obviously in 93 years, things change a lot, but the need then was very much more to do with unmarried pregnant girls, which socially it was very taboo back in those days. So the home was like a safe place for these pregnant girls to sort of go and be hidden away while they went through their pregnancies. And because being unmarried and pregnant and having a baby in those days was not very socially acceptable, the babies would usually be consented for adoption.
Okay.
So essentially we do the same kind of work today. It's just we meet a different need and things have changed. But we still provide residential care for babies who've been consented for adoption and increasingly for babies who've been abandoned and become available for adoption.
Okay. So we're a safe haven for those babies that are in need and that you've seen.
Yes, it is temporary safe care. The idea is never for children to enter our care and then grow up and spend a long term in the children's homes. So the time that they spend with us is the time that they are being prepared for adoption, if you want to put it that way, until they can leave with family care, or alternatively, which does happen quite often, reunification with biological family. But in the time where they don't have that family caring for them, we are here for them.
So what happens if a baby does not get adopted and the family situation doesn't change? What happens to the child?
Well, when a child is placed here, there are occasions where there might be biological family that is known and they're not able to take the child back into their care. Then foster care would be looked at.
Okay.
Whether it's with a biological family member, related foster care, or unrelated. It's not that common with our children, but it does happen.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But mostly it's adoption.
It's reunification or adoption. Yeah.
And so when you see a baby that came in maybe as a newborn or 6 months and they get adopted, what's the feeling that you have?
It's always happy, sad, very bittersweet, always. But we want the children to be in family care.
Yes.
So it's more joyful than anything. But obviously we do bond with the children, so there's always a slight grieving process to go through. But the happiness of them being in a family far overrides that.
It's impossible not to bond with them.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
And we all develop attachments with particular children.
Of course, with similar traits.
Yes. And even when they do leave us, we still regard them as our babies. So
we love it here.
Yeah, we love it when the families do stay in touch with us, whether it's just their birthdays, their first day at school, whatever, we get updates.
And where do you find most babies come from? Is it hospitals?
We fall under Joburg Child Welfare, so the babies are all placed here through one of their social workers. And there can be a variety of places. Hospitals is quite common. It could be babies found abandoned, wherever. But also moms who consent their babies for adoption, who approach the social workers and go through the legal channels. Yeah.
And who would be potential person that would adopt a child, what kind of person is that?
I think that it's very hard to categorize people, but all of our adoptions are facilitated through Joburg Child Welfare. They have social workers who work with the parents with the screening, the counselling, the preparation, and there obviously are some criteria.
Yeah, that you must meet.
Yes, but it's not a perfect world, so you don't have a perfect potential parent or perfect child. It is the matching of that individual, the parents or the single parent. Yeah.
And when the children come in, obviously they're different, as you say. Do you find that most the behavior that they have are some in distress, or they're just children that don't know what's happening?
No, look, I think it's different, and also some babies will come in as newborns and some might be a couple of months old. Some babies might have spent time in hospital. But I think that we need to understand, for any child entering this environment, there's been a trauma.
Yeah.
They have been bonded with the caregiver, whether while the mom was pregnant or immediately afterwards, and they've had that bond cut. So it can't be easy ever. And the biggest thing when children first come to us is to prevent withdrawal. They must know that they are coming here, they're safe, they don't understand it, but they are loved and there are people who are caring for them, so that they don't lose that ability to trust.
Because we see also you have a lot of staff in the home that work with the children.
Yeah.
For instance, your granny and the nurses. So it's a whole system.
It is a whole system. So we have our childcare workers who work in rotating shifts. It's obviously a 24-hour program around the clock. So we always have our care workers on duty day and night, weekends, Christmas Day, Easter, all the rest of it. There's no shutting down. But then on top of that, we have what is called the Granny Program. That is a separately funded program. It's funded through an American organization called Spence Chapin, and it's very simple and very effective. So the Gogos come in weekday mornings. Each of them are matched with 2 children, and the entire focus is on giving each child a primary caregiver to bond with, to get that individual attention and love, as well as the stimulation. Children need to develop and grow and meet milestones and progress. And so the individual attention from the Gogos helps us ensure that.
So the Gogo gets the same 2 children?
Yeah.
To work with.
Yes.
So they're not changed.
They're not changing, and those are their children, and the children know their Gogos, and obviously they bond. So yeah, it is difficult for the Gogos when the children leave.
I'm sure.
But it is part of it, and then new children
it's
come
needed.
in. Yeah.
It's needed. And
then in addition to that, we also have volunteers. Especially the afternoons, the weekends. It's just our care workers. And then volunteers fill that other gap of entertaining and being more fun, and making sure that the children aren't just living in routine care.
Sitting there. And so, concerning volunteers, how does one become a volunteer? Can I just rock up and say I want to volunteer? Or
you can do that, but then there's still a process to go through. So it's a relatively simple application process. We take volunteers through an orientation, and we do require police clearance. For anyone working with children, interacting with children, just need to have that police clearance or clearance against the Child Protection Register. So
makes sense.
We
need to take care of our children.
We do.
And so I didn't ask you, but what drew you to this kind of work? Did you study in this field? Why are you here?
Personally, I actually studied education and psychology. We do have our social workers. I've just always been drawn to working in this type of field. I'm very passionate about development work and the children. And I think once you're here and you're working in this environment, you just realize the huge importance of what we're actually doing. Although it seems very easy, the care for babies.
No.
There's so much that we can do to make better and to be there for them.
Yeah.
So I love that part of it.
Yeah, I was just about to ask this. To me, looks like a very emotional and demanding work.
It is. But obviously we learn the skills of dealing with that. And then the other part of my position is fundraising.
Okay.
Which is non-stop in this type of environment. We rely heavily on donor support and the public support to help us provide for the babies. So, yeah.
And it starts from the formula.
Absolutely, all the basic needs. Nappies, toiletries, babies, so paying for the water and the electricity. The milk formula is vitally important, especially for the babies under 6 months. They rely on it entirely. So it's not something that we can chop and change. We need to know that the children will be getting the correct amount of the correct formula on a daily basis.
So who do you call out to for donations? Is it big companies? Is it Zanele? Who can donate, and how do we do that?
Everyone can donate, and every small amount or big amount can make a difference. Obviously, we do go to big companies, especially post-COVID pandemic. The funding pool, the donor pool has shrunk. People, the economy is still trying to recover from that. So we go to the big companies, but also to the individuals. A donation of 50 Rand can purchase milk formula for 2 days for one baby.
Wow.
So every 50 Rand makes a difference.
So how do we find those details?
You can find us online. You can find, people can follow our Facebook page, our Instagram profile, or our website. We do try to make it easy for people. Can donate via EFT, cash. We have a SnapScan account, and also online donating through BackaBuddy.
Okay, so you just go find Princess Alice Adoption Home, and we Google, we find you.
Click on donate.
And you spoke about COVID. I know that there were regulations. We couldn't leave our home. We couldn't volunteer. We couldn't. How did you cope during that time?
We were very isolated because we couldn't have visitors and volunteers for a full 2 years with the regulations. But people, especially during that first 12 months of the hard lockdowns, people did think about us. And that's one of those miracles that how did we survive? Well, people remembered us, and people were obviously Take a Lot, 6060, the delivery services became very popular during that time, so we were still receiving donations, which was amazing. We're finding it very challenging now, and I think that goes across the board for anyone in this type of field. We are struggling to get the funding and the donations that we need.
So we encourage
we do encourage
people to donate.
Yes, and as I say, every small donation makes a difference.
And to someone that is, I know that you have a limited number of children that you can take into the home, but just a general message to someone, like a young girl that is pregnant out there, what's your message of hope that you can give to them?
Okay. Well, one of our taglines, what we like to say here, is that hope floats. And sometimes things aren't ideal. But for every young girl, always reach out for support, whether it's through family or to the social workers who can assist. There are ways to provide that support. Or to consent your baby for adoption. And very often, I mean, we know the challenges that our society is facing. We know families are broken. There's so much unemployment and poverty and desperation. And abandoning a baby is an act of desperation, regardless. But there is a support system out there, and it's to reach out for that help. And we see very often babies will be consented for adoption or abandoned. And very often the pregnant girls have not reached out to their family for that support. And then it takes a while, and then there's an aunt, a cousin, an uncle, a grandfather, a grandmother, one person in that family who says, we'll help you. And that's all that it takes, is that one helping hand.
Reach out for help.
Yeah, and babies can be reunited.
But we see the good work, the hard work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you.
We're just very grateful to be able to be here for the babies at this time of their lives. We know it's just a short chapter. It will be over. They will be in family care. But we're grateful to be able to care for them while they need us.
And you find that some, as they grow up, they come back and
do, yes.
and pay a visit.
They do.
How does that feel?
Amazing. Sometimes children will come back with their adoptive parents while they're growing up, so this becomes part of their life story, and that's always amazing. Sometimes people will come back as adults. They haven't been back here ever, and then this is part of their identity, and they'll come back and reconnect. And very often we'll get people coming back wanting to help us. And what could be better than that?
That's wonderful.
And giving back, yeah.
And do you know perhaps roughly the statistics of mothers that either abandon or give their children for adoption? Is it younger people, or is it teenagers, or is it like an
I can't quote an official statistic, but just from our experience, I think it's the range. It's a range.
It's a big range.
From teenagers up to young moms in their early 30s who simply can't cope. Yeah.
And just need help.
Yeah.
What's the most distraughting story that you've experienced with a baby that has come in that just you couldn't believe?
I don't think we can even discuss that because of the confidentiality around children.
Okay.
But I think it's always heartbreaking in every way. Obviously,
to find a baby.
Yes, I think, and especially if babies aren't newborn, when a 9-month-old baby comes in that you can see has been cared for, has been fed, has been looked after, and is found abandoned, and then obviously there's like, what happened? What happened? Because clearly somebody has been loving this child, and then something happened, and that's very upsetting.
Yeah.
We've seen there are babies who are born prematurely and spend their first 8-9 months.
And I think that the opposite side of the most traumatic stories is seeing the babies cry once they come in here and they're so naked and they just wrap it up. Like I said, this is emotional work. How do you make sure that you are taken care of emotionally? I think it's very important that we are able to talk, that we do have debriefing, that we are able to talk through our situations. And always focus on positive. Always focus on them. We need hope. We absolutely need hope. It's all about hope. Without hope, we are dead. Absolutely.
But we want to thank you for the great work that you're doing. And we thank all the donors that will come and donate.
We are very, very grateful.
We're grateful for those that have donated as well. So keep up the good work and all the best for you.
And thank you for your time. We're done. Can I get a photo?